Shawn, back at
What's
it.
up? What's up,
Live.
man? How you doing?
Real good. Good to see your smiling face again.
Absolutely.
2 weeks is too long to be apart.
I know, man. It's been tough. It's been tough. Last week was crazy. This week's crazy too, but I'm here. I'm able to pull some things together, so let's make it happen, man.
Very upset that you came through Chicago and didn't look me up. So now you're in
I
big
know.
trouble.
I know. I had you in the back of my mind. That's why I didn't tell you I was going to Chicago because I knew. And I've got family out in Chicago too, and I made the mistake of letting them know I was going out there. 'Cause everybody wants a piece of me when I'm out there, but it's like I
Man,
was on some serious business, lockdown, couldn't break free, man. I knew that ahead of time, so I wasn't going to start breaking hearts early.
awesome. Well, today I'm representing Chicago.
I like
Got,
it.
got my Walter Payton on for the draft.
There you go. There you go.
What? I forget. You said you're a Pats fan.
Yeah, I'm a Pats fan. Football is not super high on my list. I am baseball and basketball are
Oh,
pretty
yeah,
darn close at number one, and then
Yankee.
football is number three. And you know, I live in Southern Maine. I live in the Portland, Maine area, and obviously the local teams here are the Celtics, Red Sox, Patriots. So my two sports, basketball and baseball, I don't go local, man. I'm a diehard Yankees fan. Born that way, I'll die that way. Um, Basketball, I'm a diehard Pacers fan. Backs against the wall tonight, game six tonight. They just
Yeah,
blew it the other night. And football, it's just by default that I'm a Patriots fan because I'm not that into football. And I promise you, if I was a diehard
man.
football fan, I probably would not be a diehard Patriots fan.
Well, you'll pick up the baseball front for this group, and I'll pick up the football front, and we'll have them both covered.
Love it, love it.
Talking about baseball, you got to love the Cubs. They're doing awesome. Just, I'm a lifelong North Sider in Chicago, so we're excited about what's going on there.
Cubbies are doing good. My Yankees are, it's early though. It's early.
All right, so we got a lot to cover today in a short time. So, one of the things I thought to start off with, I'm having one of those days where everything is falling apart. You know, you have a nice tight schedule, which this will delve into what we're going to talk about later.
Yep.
I had the whole day planned. Everything went wrong, could go wrong, including you and me hooking up here on the webcam, all those technical difficulties. So you're great on mindset. And so, you know, what do you do when you have those days where it's just starting to go off of the rails? You know, for me, when I'm experiencing a day like this, it's like, hey, let's cut off early and, you know, go get a couple beers and, you know,
Yep.
do the Norm and at Cheers type of atmosphere. What do you do for your guys? What do you do for yourself? The day's falling apart on you, and you know, you still got business to do.
Man, and it's easy to fall off. And at the end of the day, what you got to remind yourself is that, and I just touched on this recently. I did a little bit of podcast on this topic, which is that forward is forward. You know, you want to talk about a day going wrong. You know, when you kind of go all in, when you enter the entrepreneurship world, when you go into business for yourself, when you kind of break free from the norm and take this huge risk, which it is a huge risk, you know, you always have this wonderful blueprint ahead of time, like A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. Everything is going to flow and go perfectly because I did what Shawn said. I wrote my goals down. I wrote my daily plan down. Everything is all written down. That's all well and good, man. That's to keep you accountable. But then what happens when you write it down and then things don't go according to plan, like this today? And it doesn't have to be a day. It can be a week. It can be a month. Now you can go a year where nothing goes right for you. What you need to remind yourself, this is one of my favorite sayings, is that forward is forward. As
Yeah,
long as you're moving forward, you know, you may, going into today, maybe you wanted to accomplish 20 things. Maybe you only accomplish 5. As long as you're not slacking, as long as you're not putting your feet up and then, oh, I only did 5 today, but Shawn said forward is forward. Man, as long as you're grinding, as long as you're giving it your all, sometimes shit happens and you can't control it. You can't let that get you down. You got to stay on target. You got to stay on point. Deal with the blows as they come, but just keep your foot on the gas, man, and keep going through it. At the end of the day, so here's the thing. You have a day like today where nothing goes wrong. Like you said, you could easily throw on the towel and be like, you know what? Today's not my day. It's not going to go for me. Let's just call today a wrap. I'm going to call it a quit. We'll go back at it tomorrow. And you can accomplish absolutely nothing. Or you put your head down, you fight through it. Like I said, maybe you don't get all those 20 things done, but you get 5 done. Hey, man, at the end of the day, 5 is 5. Forward is forward. You got to keep your eyes on the prize. Easier said than done. And it can be incredibly disheartening. And for most, it's when, again, it's not just one day. It's you do it, you go through today. You do what I tell you to do. You put your head down. You hammer through it. You put in extra hours at the end of the night. Did you accomplish everything? No, but at least you went through it. And then you're like, man, yeah, you feel good. And then tomorrow you go at it and the same shit happens again. And then eventually you kind of get beat down. So that's where it gets difficult, is when it's over an extended period of time. And that's where you got to tell yourself before you start going on this type of a path, am I the type of person that has the mental warrior makeup of which I can take the blows, I can get knocked down and keep getting back up? I just watched Creed this week for the first time. I'm a huge Rocky fan. I hadn't seen Creed yet. I was a little unsure of it. Absolutely loved it. And just that type of message, man. How many times can you get knocked down and get back up? And that's where the true success is found. That's where the true warriors in all these industries rise up, is those that have that ability to take those hard days where things don't go your way and just keep going through it. Because you are always that one day, that one step away from that success, away from hitting it out of the park. And you throw in the towel today, then you're going to set the precedent where you're going to throw the towel in every day that things go wrong, and you're not going to get it done. You step up to the plate today, regardless of how banged up you are, and you at least swing the damn bat. Eventually, I don't care how many days, eventually you're going to hit the ball and you're going to hit something good. So that's my mindset with it.
So on a similar thing, then, I'm curious if you're going to stay on the same theme. But so this week took a couple blows in my business where a couple of really nice leads that I was hoping they were going to still do projects with us ended up going with someone else. Those are a punch in the stomach. So you could be having a great day and you get a couple of those emails or replies and they say, yeah, we're going in a different direction. Is that any different for you in coaching your sales guys in their mindset of a day that's just falling apart, organizationally, time management? Or let's just say we're focusing on that one lead that you really wanted to close. It says no. It's an actual punch in your stomach. You feel sick to your stomach about it. How does Shawn Flynn, rebound from that?
Well, here's the thing, man. A true professional is never going to rely on 1 or 2 leads. All right. And that's one of the biggest excuses, and I'll call it an excuse. It's one of the biggest excuses I get about salespeople that struggle is, well, half of my clients, they end up canceling on me, or half of them don't pass, financing, or half of them don't pass whatever. And then, so bottom line is your pipeline's not full. If your pipeline is full, if you're hustling like a true professional, grinding it out every single day, understanding you're building these scenarios into your prospecting mindset of that. I know, because I've been doing this for years, that out of every 10 clients that I nail, 2 or 3 of them are going to bail. And I need to make up for that. I need to account for that. So if, I see it all the time, man, because it's human nature when you see a little bit of success and you're like, oh, sweet, this is good. And maybe those projects were a big payoff. So you're like, instantly you kind of take your foot off the gas, like, man, I'm good. I don't got to prospect anymore. These are going to pay my bills for the next 6 months. Man, I'm good. So you take your foot off the gas. And then guess what? They cancel on you. They bail on you. They disappear. All of a sudden you start calling them and they don't answer the phone anymore. You don't know what happened. Your pipeline's not full. That's just lack of the proper mindset of what it takes to be successful. A true professional salesperson does not rely on those 1, 2, 3, 4 leads. A true professional understands the numbers. They understand that if I want to make $1 million a year and I average X amount of dollars per phone call, or I average X amount of dollars per appointment, I need to blow that up. I need to get in front of more people because I need to start factoring in these misses. So yes, it will hurt. Yes, you're going to get dealt those blows. Yes, people feel like the universe is against them. And man, I kind of relate this to poker. I relate sales to poker a lot because, you can play perfectly for months. And then all of a sudden you get like a series of 30, 40, 50, 60 like hands that you should just knock out of the park. And you just take hit after hit after hit after hit. You got to plan for that ahead of time. You got to understand that sometimes the law of averages goes out the window and you're going to get that bad string where instead of 1 out of every 10 or 3 out of every 10, it ends up being like 6 or 7 out of every 10 for a span of a month. And it is incredibly disheartening. It is easy to give up when that happens.
Let me ask you something. So how do you personally, that one that you really wanted and you find out they don't want you, what's going on in your own personal mind? What's your self-talk like?
Well, first things first is I'm going to try to save it. I am going to try to save it. If somebody tells me they're going to go in another direction, I'm not going to be lazy and just let it go. You be professional, be polite, but I'm going to find out why. Ask the questions. Does it mean you're going to save it? No. You save rate on those 10%, you're doing wonderful, right? But still, you got to go after it. Hey, not only because you want to try to bring them back in, see if there's anything else that you can do. You never want to look desperate, but you still want to try to go after it. But then B, ask the survey questions, and you want to do this with all your customers that don't end up signing up with you, is ask them why. Find the data why. Don't just get pissy and don't blame them and don't get all bitching and moaning about it. Find out why. Be genuine, be sincere, and say, hey, I'm just curious to understand, as to why this kind of fell through, or is it, is it something that I did a little bit wrong? Is it the product? Is it the price? Was it me? Those are actually my 3 favorite things to talk about. I got my 3 Ps: person, product, price. So if somebody's going to be leaving you, just ask them, hey, was it the price? Was it the product? Or was it me? You're the P. You're the 3rd P. And see if you can save it from that. Because then, it was the price. We didn't think this was fair. And then, okay, well, then you know what you can do, and you can try to rebuttal it, try to go after it. It was the product. Maybe you're on the wrong product. See what you can do to try to hammer that out. And at the end of the day, is it me? Was it something that I did? Did you not feel comfortable that I'd be the person that would take good care of you? No, I thought you were awesome. You're great. You treated us well. It just came down to the price. It came down to this, came down to whatever. Ask those 3 questions: person, product, price. See if you can salvage it. Now, if you can't salvage it, and they're going, no matter what you try to do, you just got to pick up and you just got to move on, man. At the end of the day, you want to sit down there and feel sorry for yourself. It's not going to accomplish anything. That's why a guy like Mariano Rivera, right? Greatest closer of all time. Man, he'd get shelved a couple games in a row. He'd let up a grand slam and blow a game where they had a 3-run lead going into the 9th, right? With 2 outs, and he'd let up 3 singles and a home run. But then he'd come out the next day and freaking close it out just like nothing ever happened. Being a true professional means that you understand you can take those blows. You can't let your confidence get hit. Mathematically, think of it in math, man. Mathematically, it's going to happen. You just got to put your big boy pants and your big girl pants on and keep rolling.
Well, I love, you brought in the Creed and the Rocky. It's almost like that. You took a huge body blow, and it's a matter of, are you going to quit or are you going to keep going?
I lost you. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Your feet, you're as long as you can see me, that's cool, but you are frozen.
You are frozen, so we're good to go. See if he gets back on here. We got a great question from the huddle this week. Our man, let's see, looking it up right now. Our man that we're all following and we're rooting for, Robert Grossmiller. Robert Grossmiller in the huddle. He's trying to break off in his business. He's up in Pennsylvania too, not far. He's doing it part-time, and he's trying to make it happen. So we need to encourage him, and I'm hoping that Shawn, you'll get back on here and we can tell him what he needs to do.
All right. Back in business. I don't know what happened there, man. That's crazy. All right. So last thing I heard was bringing in Rocky, bringing in Creed. You took a huge hit.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Just, you brought in Creed lately and Rocky. Getting someone to say no like that is a body blow. You just got to stay in there, go to the next round, try to keep the fight going.
And you got to keep, at the end of the day, it honestly comes down to keeping your pipeline full. A true professional knows that this is going to happen and they account for it. A lazy salesperson is going to make just enough appointments whereby, they'll just barely get by and they'll just barely be okay. And those are the people that are going to bitch and moan when people bail, when people cancel, because they don't have anybody to back it up. They don't have any backup plan. There's no other clients that are lined up. All their eggs are in that one basket. When they bail, then you start looking around, and that's when you start blaming things. This is when salespeople start blaming because they didn't take the steps necessary to keep a pipeline full. People don't understand, and it's when when things are going extremely well and you're making money and you're closing deals and you're closing sales, you're not invincible. It is a 24/7 model that you need to apply to keep that pipeline constantly full. If you take your foot off the gas for 1 week, it's a ripple effect. You're going to feel that 2 months down the road. If you take your foot off the gas for a month, you're going to feel that. You see it all the time with businesses. You see it all the time with salespeople. They hit a little bit of success, and then they get complacent because they start feeling like they are like it's owed to them. Like now, like a superstar in sports. Like, man, I've proven my worth, so now I'm just owed it. I can just show up now and get paid. I don't have to put the practice in. Practice? What's practice? I'm going to practice. I'm Allen Iverson, man. I just got to show up and play the game. Doesn't work that way in sales. You need to do it 24/7. So if you're sitting around feeling bad about yourself because you lose a couple deals, man, your pipeline's not full. That's on you. You own that. You got to own that responsibility. A true professional loses a sale like that. It's like, all right, man, that's good. That's actually, you know what? That's actually a weight off my shoulder because I have so many more freaking clients that I got to see. That's one less thing I got to do. Let me take care of these guys. Bottom line.
Love it. Hey, that's a good segue now in our Austin from Austin.
Austin from Austin.
For those that have been listening, Austin is my new hire for North Shore. Comes with no selling experience, no estimating experience. We're trying to train him on the fly. We got Shawn on the mindset, me on the technical aspects of being in construction-related sales.
Yep.
And so the good news to report is he sold his first project.
Love it.
Nice job. Yeah, about $14,000. So his biggest challenge now, as I'm trying to coach him, is exactly what you were talking about, keeping your pipeline full. So if he's your salesman, he's out there, you're giving him leads already. So he's got that rolling. You are, so he's got things to do on that. He's got to project manage now that the jobs that he has sold, he's on there making sure that the customers are happy. And then that third balance is finding new leads. So his biggest challenge is how does he make sure that he is touching on all of those and doing them well? And one of the things that I've been coaching him, and I'll let you riff off of that, is, hey, show me your calendar. Show me the blocks of time that every day you're saying, okay, I'm an hour, a block of time, I'm just going to spend on new prospecting. Maybe 2 hours is managing the existing jobs, and maybe the balance is paperwork, proposals, selling the existing, leads that I've already had in there. Show me the calendar, organize that, and then go from there? Or do you have some other bells and whistles that you would manage him? So coach me, how am I managing him to make sure his pipeline is always full and, just daily progress like that?
Absolutely. I mean, you do want to write things down. You do want to schedule things out. You do want to have things written down. I mentioned either last week or the week before about keeping white space off your calendar. You want to do that. If you're looking at your calendar for the week and you see you don't have an appointment here, you don't have an appointment there, where you normally would have appointment time or whatever, you got to dig deep and either make appointments. And if no matter what you try to do, you can't land any more appointments or appraisals or whatever, then you got to slot something else in those areas. But at the end of the day, it comes down to not only just writing it out, but making the most of that time. That means you got to stop thinking so much. I mean, I don't know Austin personally, and maybe he does a phenomenal job. I don't know if he's dialing or if he's showing up to places, however it is that he's cold calling or whatever he's doing, warm calling, whatever the lead situation is, right? It's making the most of the time that you have. That means if you have an hour, don't try to make 10 calls in an hour. Try to make 30 calls in an hour. Don't think so much about it. Like, salespeople get hung up. Now, is he doing any cold calling at all? Is that even part of his area?
Well, it is. And so that's the hard part too, is, cold calling. How do you, even start with that, in a trade like masonry, for example.
Right.
It's property managers is who we're targeting. So yeah, you can get lists. That's what I told them. My advice was, hey, we're in Chicago. There's 500 property managers. Yeah.
You should have an endless list.
Yeah, endless list. We just want to be on the bidder list.
Yep. So it means coming up with a perfect pitch. It means having your 30-second elevator pitch, and it means dialing the damn phone, not thinking about it. Salespeople love to think and analyze and, okay, this guy, what am I going to say? What's he going to do? What if he says this? Or what if he says that? All the fear and all the little worries and all the little, just got to go through it. You got to almost act like a machine. I mean, don't act like a machine on the phone, but act like a machine in that, like, cut your thoughts out of it, get your pitch down, be confident in your pitch, and just dial the damn phone and hammer through it. And this type of industry where I say it's an endless list, but maybe it's not. With property managers, maybe it's not. A lot of cold calling sales jobs literally are an endless list. And, in those scenarios, you got guys that are trying to make 200 calls a day. And, whereas the lazier salespeople in that same industry might only make 30 calls a day or 40 calls a day. And it's like, well, I'm here, I'm making the calls. Yeah, but you're thinking too much. You're doing too much. You're writing too much. You're finding, I feel like people are inherently wired to try to find reasons and almost, I don't know the word I'm looking for, like a justification as to why they don't have to do a little bit more work. And a lot of it's busy work, taking notes and writing things down and finding different justifications as to why you are not dialing the phone as much, why you are not going out, all these little excuses that you come up with. At the end of the day, you just got to start putting in the work and making the damn calls. And where this becomes easier to do is when you start to understand your numbers. Now, somebody like Austin, where he's brand new to this, the data pool is small, so he doesn't really know his numbers. When I talk about numbers, I mean how many sales per call, how many sales per cold call, how much money per cold call are you actually making? Over a span of time, when you start making X amount of money and you start looking at, okay, so 3 months, I made 30 grand. How many phone calls did I make? How many appointments did I make? And then you start kind of dividing it out and realizing, and this isn't your successful cold calls. This is all of your calls. How many calls did it take for me to get to 30,000? And then you start doing the math, and then you start realizing and understanding that even calls or visits or whatever that you're making where you don't land any business, you're making money on because that's part of your structure. So then it comes down to okay, I made 30,000 in 3 months, which I made 700 calls, or I made 1,000 calls, and I made 500 visits, whatever the numbers are, right? Then you start looking at it and realizing, so that means I made $100 per call or $100 per visit. Maybe not that much money, or maybe so with where it's a bigger cash coming in with these projects. But even if it was only $5 or $10 per call, that's when you start understanding, man, I got to start calling more. I got to start visiting more. You start realizing that the more action you put into prospecting, the more money you're going to bring in, even when you're not landing them on the phone. You're still making money. If you average $5 per call and you're only making 10 calls a day, wouldn't you rather start making 100 calls a day? Because guess what? $5 a call is $5 a call. Your success rate is your success rate. Let's relate it back to sports, man. If you're a professional baseball player and you're batting 300, wouldn't you rather get 600 at-bats per year as opposed to 200 at-bats per year? You got to start thinking that way. You got to start understanding your numbers, because when you see the numbers, you understand the results. When you see the results, that's when you start salivating a little bit. That's when you start getting hungry. That's when the light goes off and you start realizing, holy shit, I actually do control my own destiny. If I just buck up and start taking more action, making more phone calls, making more visits, making myself known more, I'm going to start making some more money. And that's where the excuses stop happening, because why would you want to make an excuse to not make money?
Love it.
So for him, it's tough in the early days, man. When you're just starting and you haven't been in sales before, it's easy to hear this, but where you're just getting started, you don't have any data to look at. So he just landed the $14,000 job. I'm sure he's getting some money out of that. Awesome. That's the one job. Right now, the data pool is so small, he can't see it. He can't understand it. But you just have to put the work in the early days. So right now, his focus, honestly, needs to be on getting in front of as many people as he can, making as many phone calls as he can. When it comes to handling the projects and visits and all that, It's not easy doing it as one person. It's not. And it's one of those things where, as a salesperson, especially when you are having to control so many different outlets, you're not just worried about making the phone calls, closing the deals, and then having somebody else go out and do the appraisal. You're the guy that's doing everything. It's a challenging job, and you're either going to sink or you're going to swim. You're going to find that in that type of job, in that industry, you're either going to be incredibly successful or you're going to fail miserably. There's not a heck of a lot of gray area, because it's all comes down to the mindset. And when you're winning and your confidence grows, you're crushing it. You're going at it. When you're not winning and you're not making enough phone calls and you start letting the excuses and negativity creep in, it's a quick slope downward. That's why it's like, I don't know about the masonry and the construction business and whatnot, but across all sales industries, it's the top 20% of sales reps account for the top 80% of sales. There's a reason for that. And that's why I say there's not a heck of a lot of gray area. You're either making a shit ton of money or you're down on the other avenue. The people that are down on that other avenue, those are the guys that are making the excuses as to why they aren't able to close as much or why they're not able to make more phone calls. The people that are in that top 20%, and then you want to go to the top 5% that are crushing everything. Those are the ones that you're not going to hear excuses from them. You're just going to see constant activity. You're going to see successful habits repeated daily. You're going to see successful schedule. Scheduling is important. Waking up at the same time, waking up early, having a daily routine where you develop successful habits and you repeat them over and over and over again. It is crucial. You got to think long-term. You got to think like a poker player. You have to have your approach set ahead of time. Understand that over the long term, when you develop a winning approach, you will come out ahead. Same thing with poker. You develop a winning approach and you actually cut the mental part of it out and you just apply it like the math. Yeah, you're going to have a span of a week or a day or whatever where you're just the odds aren't going to be in your favor. But over a span of time, if you have a winning approach and you're repeating successful behaviors over and over again, regardless of all the noise, regardless of everything else, regardless if you have a bad day, regardless if a couple people cancel every day, you repeat those successful behaviors daily, you will end up on top. It's just a matter of grinding it out in the early days when you don't have a cushion.
Yeah.
Hustling when you don't have a cushion, man. That's where you're truly going to sink or swim, is when you back is against the wall. Your success is at your hands. Whether you sink or swim, it's on you. Those are the fun days, man. Those are the days, Austin. It's like those are the days where right now you feel a huge weight on your shoulders. You feel every night just worry and all these financial stresses and whatever. But man, if you stick it out and you grind it out and you just stay the course, these are the years that you're going to look back at when you're 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, absolutely crushing it. You're going to respect the hell out of these days because you have to go through it if you want to end up being one of those beasts.
Love it. Only thing I would add on that, you just sparked me when you started talking about poker. You know, you go into the casinos, if you're successful, you kind of have a system and you stick with the system.
Yeah.
And when I coach my contractors, it's similar. The same thought is, you know, show me your system and I'll show you where it's breaking down.
And having a system. A lot of salespeople don't have one. A lot of businesses don't have one. They just wing it. And like, you're not going to be successful just winging it. You do need to have a system, and it needs to be a repeatable system that works for you, your customers, your boss. It needs to work for everybody smoothly across the board. But you'd be surprised how many businesses, how many companies, how many sales forces and salespeople that work for themselves just wake up every day and wing it and hope that something sticks.
My favorite quote from Michael Gerber in the E-Myth is, every frustration is a lack of a system. So if you're frustrated with not enough sales, well, show us your system of who you call and how many calls, you know, that could tell you right there.
And that's where the excuses start to come in. Dude. I mean, it's like you get somebody that's struggling and you ask them, well, what's your system? Dude, you have to be disciplined. If you're not disciplined, you're not going to be successful in sales. And that's why, you know, sales, entrepreneurship, getting your own business is such like a flashy thing right now to do. But people don't realize that.
Segue.
It's a lot of fucking work. Like, yeah, I want to work for myself. I don't want to work. All right. But, you know, understand that having a successful system in the early days might mean grinding 100 plus hours a week. Yeah. You didn't like working 40 hours a week for your boss. Well, now you got to work 100 hours a week for yourself. Are you capable of doing that? And are you capable of, And these successful habits sometimes are very monotonous. A lot of the sales, prospecting is not fun. Like, it's not fun. Selling is fun. I like getting in front of people. I love, the actual art of selling and engaging and communicating with people and building value and overcoming objections. To me, it's like a game. It's like a game to me. I have fun with it. But the prospecting part's not fun. Yeah, it's just like poker. And I don't play poker anymore. I'll wait till I'm retired and old. But to me, a lot of it relates to that, because I'm somebody that played a shit ton of poker, 10 hours plus a day for a long time. And it all came down to the mental aspect. I had a system that worked. It was just being cognizant of dealing with those blows, which you just talked about. And it's the same thing in sales. Can you take those blows when the odds are kind of stacked against you for a couple days or a month or whatever in a row? Can you take those blows and keep your cool head and not lose your bankroll and not lose whatever? It's keeping a cool head and riding it out, and understanding that it's not easy, it's not fun, it's not glamorous. You have to sacrifice and grind and hustle like an absolute beast in the early days, or you will not make it. It's not, it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. People see, on Instagram or whatever, I'll make these motivational posts myself, right? But people see them and they think like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Yeah, I'll do that. That's yeah. But they don't see the hard work. They don't see the blood, sweat, and tears that it takes to actually become a success. I can tell you firsthand, in those early days, man, it is not fun. It is not fun. You got to hustle, you got to grind, and you gotta have thick skin.
So that's the awesome segue into our last topic, which is from the Contractor Huddle, our Facebook group. We're following along with Robert Grossmiller. He's out of Pennsylvania, and it's exactly what you're riffing on. So maybe I'm going to kind of give you his comment question and let you kind of advise him, but you pretty much answered it right now. He wants to get going in his own business. It's gambling. So if he's going to, construction business, 7 out of 10 are out of business within 5 years. Yep. So what's going to make him stand out or have success? It's going to be a system. But let me read to you his comment and question.
Absolutely.
I still do my business part-time, all nights and weekends. I'm booked out till June with calls, and estimates are going out daily. Can anyone give some advice as to when they made the leap? I'm big on sense of security. Well, right there, he's in trouble then. Might want to forget it right there. But I'm big on sense of security and don't know when to cut ties and grow my business full time. Any experiences?
So, sense of security, if that's, you got to shift the way that you think about security. When it comes to, and you're going to get ridiculed. I got ridiculed left and right when I made the decision to quit my job as a sales manager and just go into business for myself and do what I'm doing. People will tell you're making a mistake. They'll tell you the stats. 7 out of 10 construction companies fail after 5 or 10 years or whatever the numbers are. You're going to get hammered from every single angle. So not only are you making a risk, and it is a risk, and you have to understand and accept the fact that it is a risk. Not only are you going to be dealing with your own mental battles, which, trust me, they're going to be intense, but you're going to be dealing with noise coming from every angle, from your family. If you're married, it could be from your wife or your husband. If you're younger, it could be from your parents. It could be from everybody, your best friends. Dude, you're going to get negativity. You're going to get, I call them haters, but you're going to get the doubt from all angles. So you think this mental battle is hard? Wait until you start getting other people coming at you, just perpetuating it even further. That being said, listen, owning your own business isn't for everybody. At the end of the day, it's not. You need to know, you have to have the mental fortitude to endure and go through some serious shit, like some real serious shit. You got to be able to do that. And if you're somebody that is caught up, worried about sense of security, sense of this, sense of that, you got to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, like, do I have what it takes? Do I have mentally what it takes to do this? Like I said, everybody sees all the people that have these successful businesses and they want to do it. But here's the thing. All those people that made those successful businesses took a huge risk. All those people, it is a gamble. They went through some serious shit. Very few, you got some trust fund babies out there that built something. sure, or got handed something. But the majority of these businesses that are built up were built from the ground up from people just like you and me. People that had some money, people that didn't have money. When I quit my job, I barely had a dime in my bank account. It's a matter of understanding that and being able to take it. But you got to change your sense of security. So for me, when I had my last job as a sales manager, all right, I was making okay money, but I got a family of 5. My wife, we got 5 kids. She stays home. She works a little bit on the weekend, but money was tight. So yeah, it was like, yeah, this job is like security, but is it really? Because I'm just barely getting by paycheck to paycheck, even still. Even pulling 70, 80, whatever grand, like still barely. Nowadays, like in this middle class, it's a broken system, and you're not as secure as you think you are. Even if you're, as a family, pulling in 150,000, you're not as secure as you think you are. It doesn't take much or one quick shift, and all of a sudden that security blanket is gone. So for me, it came down to wanting to take control of my life, wanting to take control of my future, wanting it to have, if something's going to happen negatively to me, it's going to be because of me, not because of somebody else's decision. I wanted to own it. And growing up, like sports and whatever, man, I was a kid playing basketball. I always wanted the ball at the end of the game. If we were down a couple runs, I wanted to be up at the bottom of the ninth. Like I was built and wired that way. I love movies like Rocky. I love movies like Braveheart. I love movies like Die Hard. I have that mentality where, like, I want the challenge. I want my back against the wall. I want to own my success or failure, and I'm willing to own either. And you need to have that same sense. Now, I am kind of crazy, man. You don't have to be as crazy as me, but you need to have that shift in thinking of that. It's on me. I own my success. I own my failure. If I'm going to fail at this business, it's going to be with me fighting till the last freaking breath. And I'm going to own it if it happens. And I'm not going to point fingers. I'm not going to blame people. Your success is riding on you. So that sense of security, you're never going to feel secure enough. I'll tell you that right now. If you're somebody that's worried about sense of security, again, when I quit my job, barely had a dime in my bank, right? You want to talk about a sense of security. I don't know you, but if you're working a job and you're doing projects on the side, you've probably got some sort of a cushion, man. You probably have some sort of a nest egg, and you're going to get stuck in this analysis paralysis mode where you're always going to find another little reason as to why you shouldn't, or some little sense of security as to why you shouldn't. If you got 100 grand saved up, well, maybe that's not enough. I want 200. You're always going to find some reason as to why not. So at the end of the day, you just got to make the decision to do it. And when you make that decision, again, you have to commit to it. You have to commit to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. I don't care how hard you think you work right now, you're going to have to do it times 2. And if you don't think that's possible, then don't do it, because that's what it's going to take. It is not easy. There's a reason why 95% of businesses fail. It's not easy, and people aren't willing to commit to the crazy level. And that means giving up so much. Like, that means giving up a lot of these little side pleasures that you have.
You're scaring them away. Come on.
But it's called being.
I'm ready to quit my businesses right now.
But honestly, that's the harsh reality.
You have to be honest with them. But hey, what I love, let me interject 1 second. So I love what you just said. Hey, eventually you just got to have this mindset that I'm going for it, and I'm going to be in a place where it's going to be risky, and I'm not going to know what's going to happen the next day. My only thing is, before he gets to that point, wouldn't it make so much sense if he found a mentor or a coach that he could say, all right, here's what I'm doing. Here's my system. Do you think this system, once I cut ties, will be able to sustain itself? Get someone so he's not doing it alone. I mean, we're all like these big tough guys that, hey, we're going to go off on our own and do these businesses. But I know it's so much easier when you have a mentor or a coach that's saying, all right, I'm with you. Let's go through this together. If you have the mindset that you're okay going off on your own, then let's make sure that your system isn't a junky system that's going to set yourself up for failure. Yeah. So we don't want to tell this guy, hey, you got to just have the great mindset, but he's got a crappy system, and he's really maybe not a business guy. where he can have the best mindset in the world, but he's going to fail.
And that's huge. And you hear that from a lot of extremely successful people now. If you ask them the big question, what would you tell yourself in your 20s or when you're 18 or 19, whatever? What would you tell yourself? And the answer that I hear a ton is I would have gotten a business coach because it would have saved me so much. But then they're always like, but still, I still went through what I went through. It's like, and I'm cool with that too, man. Right? It's like when you go through the struggle, as long as you make it out. Now these guys have all made it. They say, well, I would have gotten a business coach, but then they always like, well, but I still like going through the struggle. But still, it would save you so much freaking time because you're talking to people that have been there, they've done it. They can save you. The biggest thing that they can teach you is not necessarily what to do right. It's what to not do wrong, because it's what you do wrong, your errors, and it could be such a tiny little thing that can derail your whole game plan and cost you years and thousands of dollars. And they may look at it and just be like, you need to change that. You need to tweak that. Trust me, do this. It'll save you 10 grand. Do this. It'll save you this much money. And that's where paying for a business coach starts paying off a little bit. That's where, again, having that mindset and commitment. And if you're somebody that is getting into business or new to it, and you're kind of worried about sense of security and all this, and somebody says, well, you should probably hire a business coach, and you come up with reasons as to why you can't hire a business coach.
Yeah.
What's your level of commitment at? It's like, you got to spend money to make money, and time is everything, man. And what a business coach will do for you, it's not even about the money. They can literally save you years of struggle and pain just by tiny little bits of advice, tiny little do this, do that. Let's blueprint it this way. Change that a little bit there. Can save you years of struggle and maybe permanent failure, because a lot of times, man, you go all in, you fail, you don't get, some people don't get back up. And
the best thing, he might get advice to just say, hey, you're not ready yet. Keep it going. Keep the side gig going. But, this isn't going to be successful. All right. So
100%.
Love it. Here's our takeaways from Shawn Flynn. Forward is forward. So I got to keep that after my day went crappy today.
Yep. Get something done. Find something to be productive. Don't call it quits. Just get something done. Forward is forward.
What's that quote from Creed again? Something about getting knocked down. Oh, say that again. It's not how many times you get knocked down.
And I don't even know if it's from Creed. It might be from Rocky in general. But I watched Creed. It was pretty badass. Jeez. I don't even know if I worded it right. But it's not about how hard you get knocked down. It's about how you get back up. But something along those lines.
All right, I'll get it for the show notes and get the exact quote. I love person, product, price. Hey, you lose a job, try to survey them, see why you lost it. It'll help alleviate the blow. And keep your pipeline full. That's going to also help, your discouragement level. Hey, you lose one, you're not really carrying that much because you got a huge pipeline and you got plenty of work. And what I really took away too was, hey, get your 30-second elevator pitch. I think next time we meet, we'll go over the 30-second elevator pitch that you like to use. Maybe we'll use a demo company, teach these guys how to come up with that. You're the best. Have a great weekend.
Absolutely.
On ShawnFlynnSales.com.
Yes, sir. All right, brother. Have a good one, man.
You too.